So, this segment here, I'm really going to take a little bit of time to talk about the now defending NBA champion New York Knicks. And let me just start off by saying congratulations to them and to all the Knicks fans out there who might be listening to this. I know it's been about a week and some change after they won the NBA Finals against the Spurs 4-1. But I really wanted to talk just a little bit about them and show my tip my hat and really give them their due, give them their flowers. I'll admit, I did not want the Knicks to win. I wanted the Spurs to win. I didn't want, and this is just selfish of me, I guess, me being a Philadelphia sports fan and wanting my team to kind of remain relevant. But again, I have to tip my hat to the Knicks because they were far and away turned out to be the best basketball team in the playoffs. They started out a little bit rocky in the first round against the Hawks. They were down 2-1, and then they essentially swept the rest of the playoffs because they didn't lose. They only lost one more game after that being down 2-1 against the Hawks, and they were. Listen, I have to say it, and I'm sure it's been said all along, but they were clearly the best team in the NBA, and it showed. I mean, they had a great team. They had a deep bench. First off, I mean, their starting five. Jalen Brunson has not only solidified himself as a top 5 player in the NBA, but he's vaulted himself from his performance in the playoffs. He has vaulted himself into one of the greatest Knicks of all time. I think he's a top 5 Knick player. Just off the strength alone of winning the franchise's first championship in 53 years. Jalen Brunson, he's up there with, guys like Patrick Ewing, Bernard King, Willis Reed, Earl the Pearl Monroe, Clyde Frazier, and even other guys. Even I mean, obviously, he's a fan favorite with guys like John Starks and Anthony Mason, who's no longer with us, Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston, Carmelo Anthony, another all-time great player. Jalen Brunson, he's both a Knick all-timer and an NBA all-timer. I mean, when you play like he did and you win the NBA Finals and you win the Finals MVP in the biggest sports market in the world, I mean that puts you on a whole nother stratosphere. And he did it. He's rightfully earned the name Captain Clutch. He's legit. And I'd be lying if I said that I saw this coming. I mean, I knew he was a good player at Villanova, but being drafted to Dallas when they drafted him in 2018, and he was the second in running. He was the Robin to Luka Doncic Batman. I did not foresee him becoming this good, and in one of the toughest places to play in the world, in a city that prioritizes basketball ahead of everything else, like New York City. Jalen Brunson has accomplished it all. He's everything that you want a basketball player to be, a leader to be. And his backstory, his father coaching him hard from the time that he was a kid to now. You don't have to like him, but you have to respect him, and you have to appreciate what he's done, and why it's so important now. He's the heartbeat of the Knicks offense, of the Knicks team, and he's deserving of everything that he gets, because he was just simply fantastic in these playoffs. And he has the perfect team around him. A couple of his teammates, Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges, two Ironmen, two guys who are known for their gritty, tough, willing to do the dirty work, willing to get those tough rebounds. Josh Hart, he's probably, I would venture to say he's probably one of the best rebounding guards in the NBA, because he consistently he's like a magnet. He always finds where the ball is. He's always crashing the boards. He's always active on both sides of the ball, and he can make some clutch shots for you. And it's the same with Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, he's probably one of the best two-way players in the NBA. He's not really an offensive guy, but he can show up in the stat sheet every so often. But those two guys fit their roles perfectly. And then you have Karl Anthony Towns, who, listen, this guy was a former number one overall pick, and he showed that he's a good offensive player, one of the better offensive bigs in the NBA, but his situation wasn't working out for him in Minnesota. And I think that he went to the perfect situation where he can play off of a guy like Jalen Brunson, and he can still play his game without having to be the focal point of the team. And I think that was big for the Knicks. To have Karl Anthony Towns, to have a guy who's a very capable offensive player, but you don't always need him to be that every night. You don't need to run the offense through him. And he flourished in his role. He really played well. He was able to do what they asked of him, and we see how it worked out. He was perfect in his spot. And then the guy who's really can I say, would it be fair to call OG Anunoby the glue? I don't know. I don't know. Jalen Brunson, he's the heartbeat, but OG Anunoby is the guy, is the glue. He's the guy who kind of does everything. He can score, he can play defense, and as you saw in that fourth game, that pivotal fourth game, he's willing to make the ultimate play. I mean, that tip-in that he had at the end of the game, of that part of that 20, almost 30-point comeback. I mean, that one play will live on in infamy. Will live on in Knicks fans' history for the end of time. I mean, that was just absolutely brilliant. I mean, and the Spurs, they fell asleep on that play, but you have to credit OG Anunoby for having the awareness and knowing, just being in the right spot at the right time to make that play. Because if he doesn't make that play, we might have a whole different series on our hands. The Spurs win that game most likely. The series is tied 2-2, and anything can happen. Anything can happen. But OG Anunoby being OG on the spot and making that tip in. When I saw him make that, I was like, And me watching the from the perspective of a Spurs fan, of someone who wanted the Spurs to win. After I saw him make that play, my heart dropped to my stomach for the Spurs, because not only did they just blow another huge lead, but to lose that game and to go down 3-1, in that game, in that setting, it was in that fashion. It was just like I don't see this. I don't see this turning out well for the Spurs. The Knicks are too good to take 3 in a row off of them. They may get one, but it's not looking good. And sure enough, the Knicks demonstrated their resilient toughness. The Spurs, they had double-digit leads in every game. They had double-digit leads in every game, and they just could not close it out. Their inexperience really showed up. And that was another big reason why I think the Knicks won, because of their experience in these playoff situations. Jalen Brunson came there in 2022, and that was when they really started to take off. They every single year that they were in the playoffs for the past 4 years, they got a little bit farther. In 22, they got to the semifinals. Or 23, they got to the semifinals. I believe they lost to the Miami Heat. The next year, after they beat the Sixers in what I thought was one of the more underrated 6-game series of that playoff run, they lose to the Pacers in the semifinals in a Game 7. Then the next year, last year, they lose to the Pacers again in 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then this year, they make it to the NBA Finals, and they win the whole thing. So this had been building up for the Knicks for some time. The Knicks, they were the more experienced team, and that showed. They had the perfect cast to be able to gut this one out and to just keep the team focused. That was big for them. And then the coach, Mike Brown, really was one of the biggest differences in the entire series, because let's not forget, Mike Brown, he has big game experience. He has championship experience. Remember, Mike Brown he coached under Greg Popovich during those early Tim Duncan years when Tim Duncan was winning MVPs, and he was one of the top 5 players in the league. Mike Brown was there. He coached LeBron James his first stint in Cleveland, made an NBA Finals appearance. He coached, after he left Cleveland, he coached Kobe Bryant. It was only for a hot minute, but he still worked with Kobe Bryant. All right. After that was over, he takes an assistant coaching job under Steve Kerr. He coaches Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. He works with those guys, wins 3 championships as an assistant coach with the Warriors. So he knows what, and then too, let's not forget, he won Coach of the Year in Sacramento. He made the Kings relevant. The Kings haven't been to the playoffs. They haven't been a relevant team since I was in middle school, back in the mid-2000s. He brought the Kings back to relevancy and nearly won a playoff series with them a couple of years ago, losing to, I believe, that same Warriors team that he had just coached. He had just served as an assistant coach with the year prior. So Mike Brown knows what a championship contender is supposed to look like. And then working with a great player like Jalen Brunson and all these other ancillary pieces, really was the X factor. I think Mitch Johnson is a good coach. I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him, but he was just totally outmatched. When the game was at its crucial point, Mitch Johnson, he Mike Brown has something for him. He has something for him. And, as the Spurs get more experience, I think that a series loss like this will probably be a blessing in disguise for them. They'll know it. They've got a great future. Victor Wembanyama was unbelievable throughout these playoffs, but he lacked the experience, and it seemed like he just started to get gassed as the finals went on. He was just winding down, and he'll be better, I believe, for that. But for this situation here, Mike Brown had the edge, and it showed when it mattered. And then two, the Knicks, they just had a deep bench too. They had guys who've been around, Landry Shamet, Mitchell Robinson, who's been there when when the days were really dark. Madison Square Garden, it was more like Madison Square Wasteland. Mitchell Robinson was there for a long time. Jose Alvarado, Landry Shamet, Deuce McBride, other guys who have been there. What's his name? Jordan Clarkson. These guys are all, they're not young pups, but they still have enough, the perfect blend of experience and fairly still youth on their side. And listen, it was just such a well put together team. And I don't want to be gassing the Knicks up like this, but as a fan, I'm Philadelphia through and through. I'm always gonna be pulling for my team. But as a fan of basketball, just in general, you really have to sit back and appreciate what the Knicks did. And I looking at it from a bird's eye view, I draw a lot of comparisons between the Knicks winning the championship this year and the Eagles winning their first Super Bowl back in 2017. I see a lot of parallels between those two teams, mainly because when the Eagles won in 2017, it had been 20, I'm way off. It had been 57 years since the Eagles won a championship. And, it was, we were still searching for our first Super Bowl. And we were an underdog, just like the Knicks were. We were going up against a team that had an all-world player. Tom Brady, even at his age, even at the age of 40 years old, Tom Brady was still at the top of his game. Victor Wembanyama, he was an all-world player. He was an MVP candidate. Do everything. The Knicks were underdogs, and the Eagles were underdogs. A lot of people didn't expect them to win at all. A lot of people didn't expect us to win at all. We just kind of came out of nowhere. And two of the biggest cities on the East Coast, Philadelphia and New York. Philadelphia is a football town. This city bleeds green. Football is king here in the city of Philadelphia. Basketball bleeds orange and blue. That's all you've been hearing the last 2-3 months is orange and blue skies, orange and blue skies, orange and blue skies. New York is a basketball town. They bleed orange and blue. They have a lot of two city teams. They have the Giants and the Jets. They have the Islanders and the Rangers. They have the Yankees and the Mets, but there's only one basketball team that's key. I know they have the Nets, but listen, if just on that note, if we're keeping it real, I still consider the Nets to be Jersey. I know they've been in Brooklyn for 12, 13, 14 years now, but I still consider the Nets to be at their core, they're still the New Jersey Nets. But in New York City, basketball is king. And I'm not even from New York. I'm not a New York fan, but I can just tell, and you can see it in the parade. You can just see several million people turning out for that parade. They have been starving for a championship over half a century. We, the Eagles, and our fans, we were starving for a championship for over half a century. And we got it in fairly dramatic fashion. The Knicks won their championship in fairly dramatic fashion, having to overcome double-digit point leads, double-digit point deficits in every single game in the finals. And they did it, and they won 4 of those 5 games. So there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of links between the two teams. I mean, listen, Philadelphia and New York, they're kind of like cousins to each other anyway. They're the cousin rivalry kind of dynamic that they share with each other. And we're always going back and forth with them. But we share a lot of similarities too. Passionate fan bases, diehard fans, knowledgeable fans. We share a lot. We have a lot in common. The Eagles' first championship and the Knicks' first championship in 50-some years, 53 years. So I see a lot of parallels between the two squads. And listen, this might be a controversial take. This might be something that a lot of people who listen to this might not vibe with. They might not agree with it. But I'm going to say it. When New York sports, in particular, when New York is up like they are right now, and like they probably will be going forward for the next couple of months until next season starts, and maybe even beyond when next season starts. When New York is up like this, it's good for the rest of us who are sports fans. Now, again, I've seen New York win championships before. I've seen the Yankees win the World Series. I've seen the Giants win the Super Bowl. I've seen, I've seen the Rangers be good, and I'm sure they all appreciate that. But seeing New York fans engaged again, seeing the Knicks finally win the championship, and seeing how happy everyone is. You saw at the parade, you saw all these diehard fans, celebrity fans out there, like of course Spike Lee, who's been supporting the Knicks, out the womb probably. You see all these other celebrity fans, although some of them I'm kind of raising my eyebrows a little bit, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Some of these Knicks fans who are, or some of these celebrities who are claiming to be Knicks fans, seeing them courtside, seeing them, celebrating, seeing them at the parade, and doing all this other stuff, all this, celebrations and stuff like that. I raise my eyebrow at you. I've got my suspicions, but I'm gonna let y'all be great. But seeing the city of New York up like this. It's whether you like them or not, whether you're a fan, you hate their guts, or you're in between, or you're neutral. You really don't care. It's good for the rest of us as sports fans, because going back to, they're engaged, and now you have a reason to watch. Now, if you love them, you're going to be looking for them to do it again. If you're a fan of the Knicks, you're going to be looking for them to win it all again. You're definitely engaged. Not that you weren't before, but now you're up. You're lively. You've got something that you can talk about. And if you hate them, those fans that are talking your ears off about the Knicks and about how great they are and about, they're the greatest team. They're one of the greatest teams. They're talking your ears off. Now it engages you, and now you're you're ready to see them fall flat. You're going to be looking for them to come up small. You're going to be looking for them to fail, for lack of a better explanation. You're going to be looking forward to seeing them come up short. You're going to be rooting against them. Either you're with them or you're against them. Either you're singing their praises excessively, or you're going to be hate watching them now. And it engages you as a sports fan. It really does. And New York, they have this they kind of have this air about them anyway, And the fans, again, they're just, you're either with them or you're against them. But it's good to have New York bustling and active again. To have them for them to have something to talk about, and for us, the rest of us who don't have any affiliation with New York City or New York sports, now it pulls us in as well. Hopefully you understand what I'm talking about, but it draws us in. It makes us interested in either their continued success or their downfall, is basically what I'm trying to say. So yeah, they are. It's a great time to be a sports fan, whether you're a fan of them or not. The Knicks not winning a championship for all those years, it was a talking point for a lot of sports pundits, a lot of fans. They had heightened expectations for them coming into this year. They were a popular pick, but now seeing it take place, seeing all these different podcasts, seeing all these fans who are bursting into tears, celebrating, everyone's coming out and celebrating the team. We got fans, we got celebrities coming out, halftime show performances, just everyone showing love. It either makes you happy or it makes you sick. I've said that several times, but I really believe that it's good for the rest of us as sports fans, and for my Sixers, it gives hopefully them a model to follow. We have our two pieces in place, I believe, in Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. And now it gives the Sixers, hopefully, a blueprint that they can follow to be able to build a team similar to what the Knicks have built. I hope that they can do it. They took a big step in doing so by firing Daryl Morey. hiring Bob Myers in a special role. I can't remember. I can't remember if he's like an advisor to the GM or something like that. But this new guy that we hired, Mike Gansky or Gainsey or however it is you pronounce his name, who has been in Cleveland the last couple of years. It seems like we're taking the right steps to be able to hopefully build a contender, build somebody who can compete with the Knicks. Because the last couple of times that we played them in the playoffs, the Knicks, I mean, in 24, we gave them a run for their money. Again, like I said, that was a grueling 6-game series, probably one of the best series that isn't talked about during that playoff run. But this year, they really wiped the floor with us. I mean, none of the games were. I think one game we were competing with them. We were going kind of step for step with them, but they just pulled away at the end. But the other 3 games, they just steamrolled us. It wasn't even close. We didn't have a chance in any of those games. So the Sixers can look at the Knicks and say, okay, this is how it's done. This is how we should do it, and we're on the right track. We've made some strides. We've got one monkey off our back because we finally beat the Boston Celtics in a playoff series, coming back from a 3-1 deficit. So that's a big step for us, and I think that that series will do a lot for our confidence and our experience. Going forward, I think we're going to see a much better Sixer team next year. I think that the window is still open, regardless of whether or not they keep Joel Embiid. But I think that the window is kind of reopening again for the Sixers. Hopefully, we'll be able to go out and add not big name players, but we'll be able to add a couple of more solid role players to help us flesh out our championship aspirations. So, yeah, that's my hope for the Sixers. But for this segment, I salute the Knicks. I salute their fans. They earned it. They were deserving of it. They were the best team in the playoffs all year. And that they really manifested and went out and just took it. And they did it in dominating fashion. Only 3 playoff losses. I think that's the fewest number of playoff losses for a champion since the 2001 Lakers. That great team who only lost 1 game in the finals to my Sixers. But yeah, I give them their flowers. I give them their respect. They were them. they were as advertised, and they went out and they showed everyone what a dominant team is supposed to look like. So I give them my flowers. I think that they're going to be a problem for years to come, for the next couple of years. And hopefully we'll have enough. The Sixers will be able to develop a team good enough to contend with them. But New York Knicks, New York fans, you have my respect. Salute. Congratulations on a job well done. And I'm looking forward to seeing my team go up against you guys next year.